what is it? What is their thinking? What do they want? How do they see mankind? You know, the people coming out of the Thomas Malthus School, the people coming out of the Frankfurt schools and the Tavistock Institute, and these highbrows who have always looked at us as some sort of subhuman, animalistic kind of being. I mean, I don't want to get into it right now, but my work even tracks the whole genetic interference with mankind back thousands of years ago. So what we're seeing now with the industrial age, and now we're in the silicon age, and we have all these MITs and Sun corporations, you see, in all of this effort to look at our genes and to present the gene to us in a very subliminally negative way, as some sort of mechanical construct that is just, you know, like
it's dirty, it's broken, we're bad. And for those that don't know, they would, 2,000 years ago in Rome, breed large, brutish, quote, dumb Germans, Gauls, and others, you know, together when the slaves were mainly white. And then it's openly in the slave manuals, very politically incorrect to say, but it's actually history. I'm not saying it worked, but they actually did also breed people in this country to be large and stupid, according to what the official documents say. Go ahead.
That's right. This is where they're at. This is what, you know, Jim Keith's work really alerted me to. The Dr. Delgados, these Frankensteinian, you know, Bela Lugosi creatures that, you know, haunt the technical world, that have huge amount of funding. And what really caught my eye, because as I told you before, my introduction to a lot of this had been through art and through symbolism, I started to notice that the symbolism that these, you know, Alex de Grays and these individuals who are now behind the whole genome project and many of the other technological sort of projects and organizations, right from the time of Francis Crick doing his main research in the Templar zones of London, and then the first genetic experiments being done in the Templar areas of Scotland near Rosslyn. You know, this kind of stuff started to like raise a red flag for me, because here we're up against the Templar symbolism again. Here we're seeing the Holy Grail symbolism again. Here we're seeing the men in white with the red crosses. What is all of this? What has science got to do with any of this? So then I started, you know, tracking that and got into the work of Jim Keith and others who start talking about that, look, the assault on the human race has been on consciousness, but it's also been on biology. And anyone who stands up against the FDA, the AMA, any of the Dr. Raymond Royal Rifes, the Wilhelm Reichs, the Walter Russells, you know, the Max Gersons, the list is endless of anyone who stands up to say, here's how real healing happens, here's how you get, you know, back to your center, both not only legal sovereignty in a social sense, but spiritual sovereignty. You know, they suppress and molest those people, they burn their works, they purge them, they do not let their knowledge be known. So some of the attacks on the human being, you see, we have to understand the nature of evil and understand the Hydra that is not just attacking in one way. In fact, often, as Archibald Wavell, the general, said, watch what the right hand is doing because you're not seeing the left hand. They may present in front of you some sort of bugbear, some sort of, it's like Wizard of Oz shadow for you to be, you know, shaking in front of, but the real enemy is coming at you from the back. So this is what I've also been studying, and I really do believe that this post-human world is upon us. See, the global village is upon us. I mean, that comes out of my studies of Fabianism and study of the common purpose and all of that. So, but the global village can be many things. They may not even put chains on you. They may not even build a wall around you, but you can still inhabit this planet as a global slave in the global village. There's many ways of attaining this. And through these RFID chips, the whole situation of the whole digital kingdom opening up for us, this is what's going at breakneck speed. Since the sort of falling back of the main military budgets, we're not too much falling back on it, but as obviously they scaled back from Star Wars and these other things, where do you think all that money is going? That money is now going into the whole technological, you know, world to create for human race. Basically a cyber purgatory, which is going to be what supplants this ending that I've talked about in the next 4 to 5 years. You're going to see a sort of a countdown to extinction of all the traditions, all the accepted norms that our forefathers worked for, that we've understood, that our grandparents and our parents. This is both in education, but specifically in medical. Just look at the way that children are medicated up the eyeballs right now. You know, I mean, the complete destruction. There's even one slug from Stanford University who wants to start introducing the anti, the ADD pills, the drugs, before children even show the symptoms of it. He already wants to put them on that.
No. There's already drugging of children in utero if they, quote, come from poor families in Oregon, which is eugenics.
Right, exactly. This goes back to Maury Stokes, right back to the whole Fabian situation, you know, and back to the...
and what it is these are really murderous, bloodthirsty control freaks who just have disdain and arrogance for everyone. And I've actually talked to some of these top scientists and elitists from these big families. they're almost mentally retarded in a way. They're gibbering, they're goblin-like, and they're not even that smart. They're just vicious little demons.
Well, the more empty you are, remember it's like Wilhelm Reich's Little Man, the more little you are, the more fearful you are, the more that you need to exercise these controls. It is the Wizard of Oz shadow situation. And people need to wake up, turn on the lights, and not be afraid of that type of thing. It ties into the awakening that you spoke of, in the previous segment here. And that is happening. It needs to continue to happen. And as I say, I'm very adamant of people, do not territorialize this knowledge. First of all, this is an alternative subject that we deal with. It is not mainstream. It is not fundamentalistic. You're not going to territorialize it. It does not belong to you. It is knowledge, and you cannot bring the same old world, paradigms of own and control into this area. You don't belong. Go and study. Go back to school, and go back into the Orthodox world is my message to those people.
Yeah, I've noticed people always try to. I notice people always in our own, quote, awakening movement, reality movement, whatever you want to call it, they always try to territorialize it about who said when 9/11 was going to happen first, or who discovered this, or who discovered that. And me, I'm always happy to have folks on, give them credit, but I do that almost neurotically just to please those that are keeping score on who came up with this or who thought of this first. I mean, I have trailblazed thousands of things, coined terms, but it means nothing to me. I'm hoping people use it. I'm hoping people expand on my knowledge as I expanded on others, stand on my shoulders as I stood on others. But you're right. There's this obsession with territorializing, and I've done the opposite. I've said, make copies of my films. Do whatever you want. Use my material.
Well,
Don't even give me credit. Because it's about survival. But again, people can wake up to the New World Order, but they haven't woken up to all the conditioning they were already under, and so they've got to break that as well.
Well, they're walking towards, see, the word utopia, if you actually look up the meaning of the word utopia as it was first meant to mean, it actually means no place. And this, of course, then opened up, this would not have been understood when Francis Bacon, coined the term or used it. It certainly makes a lot of sense now because we have virtual kingdoms. We have cyber, purgatories awaiting for us. We have these virtual reality states in which man, so divorced from his own center, so much divorced from his own spirit, not only divorced, but running headlong away in the opposite direction from his spirit. What do you think is waiting there for him? These, these individuals are wanting to create a perfect social global village in which you can upload your own consciousness. So the internet is, one aspect of this. It's not negative, but it's an extension of the cerebrospinal system, as many scholars have shown.
The point is the way they're engineering the technocracy is to dominate and subjugate and dumb down. So we're not demonizing technology one way or the other, but the architecture of it has been designed for bad. There is no doubting that, and we're being inserted into the false reality when our whole development is about this plane of existence, and we need to maintain that. We can certainly expand, but we need to maintain and expand our core, not give up our core of who we are to, quote, expand into something else, because that will destroy who we really are.
Right, and we often, because again of the misuse of terms, because of the media's complicity in all of this, we often think of technology as being nothing to do with spirituality. In fact, spirit and technology are two words for the same thing. If you go back in history and you'll notice the emphasis of technology when it's used aright, to build pyramids, to feed the poor, you see, to irrigate great rivers. I mean, technology was in the hands of the most spiritual people in the past. It's been sequestered, it's been repackaged, it's been sort of territorialized and owned by those who are the darkest of powers. It doesn't belong to them. The great samurai, the people who could make the great swords in the past, the great horsemen, or the great, whatever, the musicians, the musicology, the creators of instruments, all of this is technology, isn't it? So technology surrounds us as part of who we are. But it also has a spiritual component. It needs to be back in the hands of the people who are spiritual, not in the hands of these demonic people who are using it to, destroy humanity.
That's right. We are a species who envisions and then creates. We are a just magical species compared to everything else on this planet. As neat as dolphins are, they've got nothing on Homo sapiens sapien, and the enemy has to blunt and dumb down that creativity and get us focused off into issues of no significance or brute, bestial, lower level, making that, through the mammalian image, through the peer pressure to be that lower man instead of that higher man. And they claim that they are building a world for a higher man when the entire architecture is to destroy what man is and feed us into a technocratic meat grinder.
You got it. On the Michael Tsarion website, people will see an article there called Weapons of Mass Destruction Found. And it addresses this whole concept between the magic and the sorcery. I refer to what they're doing as sorcery, black sorcery. Basically, these people are possessed by a kind of archon, a demonic force that they serve, or you can look at it the other way, that they have basically uploaded their own consciousness into that place of fear, envy, endless greed, endless darkness. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. Either something's possessed them or they have uploaded their consciousness. What they've done is they've murdered their own spirit psychologically, and then by doing that, you allow this dark sorcery to enter into you. Well, you can look at it either way, but the sum result is the infected, the person who is that infected by that spiritual virus, cannot sit still. This is what the people of America and the world need to understand. That kind of infected person cannot sit still unless they go around and try to infect everybody else. The thing makes sense when you look at it from a psychological point of view.
Faith without works is dead, and that goes for the dark side and the light side.